Have you ever wondered how life changes after 70? You've spent decades building, achieving, and learning, but then you reach a point where some things just stop making sense. Maybe it's a habit you've held on to for years, a mindset you thought you'd never question, or priorities that once seemed so important. The truth is, life after 70 isn't about giving up. It's about getting clarity. You see what matters most and what doesn't. It's like cleaning out a closet. You keep the things that bring you joy and let go of the rest. But what exactly are these things that start to feel unnecessary? In this video, we're diving deep into 9 things that don't make sense after 70. Some of these might surprise you. Others might feel like a weight lifted off your shoulders. A reminder that it's okay to focus on what truly makes you happy. This isn't about age slowing you down. It's about wisdom speeding you up in the ways that count. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and let's explore what really shifts when you reach the golden years. By the end, you might just walk away with a whole new perspective on aging, and maybe even on life itself. Let's get started. Thing number 1. Chasing material wealth. Let me ask you a question. When was the last time you looked at something you owned? A fancy car, a big house, or an expensive gadget, and thought, this truly makes me happy? Now think about this. Does that happiness last? After 70, chasing material wealth just doesn't make sense anymore. Why? Because by this stage in life, we realize something profound. It's not the stuff we have, but the moments we create that truly matter. The expensive watch, the latest phone, the brand new car, they're all nice. But do they fill your heart the way a meaningful conversation with a loved one does? Or a walk in the park, soaking in the beauty of nature? At 70, time becomes your most valuable resource. You begin to understand that you can't buy back the years you spent working long hours to afford things you barely use now. What stays with you are the memories, the laughter, the lessons, and the relationships you nurtured along the way. Think about it. That designer suit you saved up for? It's probably sitting in the closet, barely worn. The shiny sports car you once dreamed of? It might be sitting in the garage more than it's on the road. It's not about regret. It's about a shift in perspective. So instead of chasing more, you start appreciating less. Less clutter, less stress, less attachment to material things. You begin to see wealth in a new light, not in terms of dollars, but in the richness of your experiences and connections. In your 70s, the best investment you can make is not in things, but in people, in moments, and in yourself. Because let's face it, you can't take the car or the house with you, but the love and joy you've given and received, that's eternal. So, let's stop chasing what doesn't matter and focus on what does. After all, the greatest treasures in life aren't found in a store. They're found in the time we spend with the people who matter most. Thing number 2. Focusing on negative opinions. As we get older, we start to realize something that's often overlooked in our younger years. Other people's opinions matter a lot less than we think. When you're in your 20s or 30s, you're still figuring out your place in the world. You care about what others think because you want to fit in, be accepted, and be successful. But after 70, something beautiful happens. Those worries start to fade away. Let's be real. There's a point in life where you stop trying to please everyone, and that's a powerful shift. You've likely accumulated enough experiences, and with them comes wisdom. You start to understand that people's judgments, whether they're positive or negative, are just their opinions. They don't define who you are or dictate your worth. After all, if you've spent decades building your life, why let someone's fleeting judgment affect your peace of mind? When you're younger, you might stress over what others think of your appearance, your choices, or your success. Maybe you've even adjusted your behavior or lifestyle to match the expectations of others. But as you get older, you begin to realize that life's too short to worry about that stuff. The people who truly care about you are the ones who see beyond the surface, who understand you for who you really are, not what you wear or how successful you appear. There's also a freedom that comes with age, a sense of relief from the pressure to conform. As the years go by, you learn that it's okay not to have everyone's approval. It's okay to say no, to follow your own path, and to focus on what truly makes you happy. Whether that's spending time with family, pursuing a hobby, or simply enjoying a peaceful moment, you begin to cherish the things that matter most. The Stoics taught us this too. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, believed that it's pointless to be disturbed by the opinions of others. He reminded himself that the only opinion that matters is his own. And as you get older, you'll start to see that this mindset isn't just for philosophers. It's a practice that anyone can adopt to find peace and freedom in their daily lives. So, the next time you catch yourself worrying about what someone else thinks of you, take a step back. Ask yourself, does this really matter? Chances are it doesn't. The older you get, the more you realize that true peace comes from within, not from the validation of others. Thing number 3, maintaining toxic relationships. As we age, we start to realize that not all relationships are worth keeping. This can be a hard truth, especially when the people in our lives have been around for years. But the reality is, holding on to toxic relationships, whether they're with family, friends, or even colleagues, only drains you of energy, peace, and happiness. Think about it. When you're younger, you might put up with a lot more. Maybe it's out of obligation, fear of loneliness, or just the belief that things will get better. But after 70, your time and energy become so much more valuable. Why spend your precious time with people who bring negativity into your life? Imagine a scenario where someone in your life constantly criticizes you, judges your choices, or puts you down. At first, you might let it slide, thinking it's just a phase. But over time, the damage starts to add up. It affects your confidence, your joy, and even your health. And as we grow older, our tolerance for this type of behavior becomes thinner. You start to ask yourself, why am I still putting up with this? It's not about cutting people off without reason, but rather recognizing when a relationship is no longer healthy for you. The Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus on what we can control, and one of those things is who we allow into our lives. By letting go of toxic relationships, you create space for people who uplift and support you. You start surrounding yourself with individuals who genuinely care about your well-being and bring positivity into your life. Now, this doesn't mean you have to sever ties with everyone you've known for years. Sometimes it's about setting boundaries. Maybe you can limit the time you spend with them or change the way you interact. The goal is to stop sacrificing your peace for someone else's negativity. As we get older, our circle of friends and family should become smaller, but more meaningful. It's about quality, not quantity. If someone continuously drains your energy or makes you feel bad about yourself, it's okay to step away. It's not selfish, it's self-care. You've earned the right to spend your time with people who truly make you feel happy, loved, and appreciated. So, take a moment to evaluate the relationships in your life. Are there any that are holding you back or causing you stress? If so, it might be time to gently let go. Your peace of mind is more important than ever. Thing number 4, overworking yourself. As we age, one of the biggest shifts in our mindset is how we view work. When we're younger, it's easy to get caught up in the hustle. The need to climb the career ladder, make money, and prove ourselves can take over, sometimes leaving little room for anything else. But after 70, many people start to see work in a very different light. You realize that life isn't about endless hours spent at the office or stressing over the next promotion. Instead, it's about finding balance, making time for what truly matters. Whether that's enjoying a quiet morning with a cup of coffee, spending time with family, or simply resting, work no longer holds the same importance. In fact, many people in their 70s look back at the years they spent working and wonder if all that time in the office was worth it. The pursuit of more money, more recognition, or more success often fades into the background when you realize that time is the one thing you can never get back. This isn't to say work isn't important. After all, work can provide a sense of purpose and accomplishment. But after 70, the focus shifts. The pressure to work long hours, to say yes to every project, or to chase after success for the sake of success starts to feel unnecessary. Instead, people begin to seek out a lifestyle that allows them to live on their own terms, with time for relaxation, hobbies, and relationships that matter most. It's important to note that this change doesn't mean completely giving up on ambition or goals. Instead, it's about redefining what success looks like. For many, success becomes about having the freedom to enjoy the present moment, not being tied to a desk or deadline. It's about choosing how you spend your time, whether it's traveling, volunteering, learning something new, or just taking a break. The idea of overworking yourself starts to feel like an old, outdated concept. So, if you're approaching 70 or already there, ask yourself, what's your true definition of success? Is it tied to your career, or does it have more to do with your peace of mind, relationships, and the freedom to live life on your own terms? The answer might surprise you, and it might be the key to living a more fulfilling life after 70. Thing number 5, keeping up with trends. When you're over 70, the pressure to keep up with the latest trends starts to fade away. You might have spent years trying to stay in the loop, whether it was the newest fashion, the latest gadgets, or the trending social media challenges. But after 70, something shifts. You begin to realize that chasing trends is a never-ending race that doesn't add much value to your life. Take a moment to think about it. How many of the things you once cared about, like the newest phone or the hottest fashion, really matter now? At this stage in life, the constant pull to be part of the in crowd feels less important. Instead, you focus on what truly makes you happy, whether it's spending time with family, enjoying a hobby, or simply taking in the world at your own pace. In fact, you might even start to appreciate the things that have stood the test of time. Classic styles, books that have been loved for generations, and traditions that have endured. These are the things that provide comfort and a sense of stability. You don't need to constantly change your wardrobe to feel good about yourself. You've learned that it's not about impressing others anymore, but about feeling at peace with your own choices. We also live in a world where everything seems to be moving faster, and trends come and go at lightning speed. But after 70, you start to realize that some things are worth sticking with, even if they're not the latest thing. Whether it's your favorite old jeans, a reliable car, or a type of music that always lifts your spirits, these constants bring a sense of joy and comfort that trends simply can't provide. This shift doesn't mean you stop being open to new things. It just means you've learned to prioritize what truly matters. Instead of buying into every new fad, you've become more selective about what's worth your time and energy. And that, my friends, is a beautiful realization. So, if you're someone who feels the pressure to stay trendy, take a moment to reflect. Maybe it's time to embrace the idea that you don't need to follow every trend to be happy. The real joy comes from being true to yourself, enjoying the things that have stood the test of time, and not worrying about fitting in. Thing number 6, chasing perfection. As we grow older, something interesting happens. The obsession with perfection starts to fade. When we're younger, we're often driven by the idea that everything must be flawless. Whether it's our appearance, our work, or our relationships, we feel this pressure to be perfect in every way. But after 70, many people begin to realize that perfection is a myth. What really matters isn't whether things are perfect, but whether they are meaningful. Imagine an older artist, someone who's been painting for decades. When they were young, they would spend hours adjusting every detail, trying to make every stroke just right. They worried about what others would think, striving to create a perfect masterpiece. But as time passes, they stop focusing on perfection. Now, they paint for the joy of it, embracing the quirks and imperfections in their work. They've learned that imperfection often adds character, charm, and authenticity to the piece. This shift isn't just about art. It applies to every part of life. After 70, many people start to accept themselves and their lives just as they are. They no longer stress about little flaws or mistakes. Instead, they focus on what brings them peace and joy. Whether it's enjoying a cup of coffee without worrying about spills or laughing at a funny mistake, the desire for perfection becomes less important. This acceptance doesn't mean giving up on doing things well. It means letting go of the burden of trying to be perfect. You start to focus more on the experience itself, rather than the outcome. You realize that the joy is in the journey, not in making sure everything is flawless. Perfectionism can hold us back. It makes us afraid to take risks or try new things because we're so focused on getting everything just right. But with age comes the wisdom to embrace imperfections. You understand that mistakes are a natural part of life, and they often lead to the greatest lessons. As you get older, you find peace in knowing that you don't have to be perfect to be happy. What matters most is that you're being true to yourself, enjoying life, and embracing the beautiful messiness of it all. So, let go of the idea that everything must be perfect. It's time to start appreciating the beauty in imperfections and finding fulfillment in just being yourself. Thing number 7. Holding on to grudges. As we get older, we realize something important. Holding on to grudges doesn't serve us. In fact, it only holds us back. When we're younger, it might feel like we need to get back at someone who hurt us, or that we have to hold on to anger to feel justified. But after 70, that weight just becomes too heavy. Think about it. We've spent so much of our lives learning, growing, and facing challenges. The last thing we need is to carry the burden of old resentment. The truth is, holding on to grudges takes up space in our hearts and minds that could be better used for peace, joy, and the people who truly matter. There's a story about an elderly man who, for years, didn't speak to his brother. They had a falling out many years ago, and the bitterness had festered for too long. But one day, after his brother had passed away, he realized that all that anger, all those years of silence, never changed a thing. It only hurt him. He wished he had let go of the grudge long ago, to spend more time loving and enjoying what really mattered: family, connection, and living a full life. This is a common realization as we age. We come to understand that the things we hold on to, whether it's past wrongs or hurtful words, are no longer worth our energy. We can't change the past, and we certainly can't force anyone else to apologize or make things right. But we have the power to choose how we move forward. Letting go of grudges doesn't mean we forget what happened or let people walk all over us. It means we stop letting the past control our emotions and our present. It's about reclaiming our peace and allowing ourselves the freedom to live without the weight of past grievances. So what can we do? Start small. Maybe it's reaching out to someone you've been avoiding, or simply accepting that certain people will never apologize, and that's okay. You don't need them to for your own peace of mind. Letting go is one of the most liberating things you can do. It clears the path for healing, growth, and a much more joyful life. At the end of the day, we only have so much time left. Why waste it on things that no longer serve us? Forgiveness is not about excusing others. It's about freeing yourself. And after 70, that's something you'll truly appreciate. Thing number 8. Pleasing everyone. When we're younger, we often feel the need to make everyone happy. It's like a natural instinct, wanting to be liked, accepted, and praised. But as we grow older, something changes. We begin to realize that trying to please everyone is not only exhausting, but it's also impossible. No matter what you do, there will always be someone who isn't satisfied with your choices. And that's okay. At a certain age, you start to understand that people will have their opinions, and those opinions aren't always a reflection of you. People are entitled to their views, but that doesn't mean you need to bend over backwards to align with them. You don't need to chase approval anymore, because the truth is, you can't control how others perceive you. The only person's approval you really need is your own. Imagine you're at a family gathering, and someone makes a comment about how you're living your life, maybe criticizing your choices or questioning your decisions. When you're younger, you might feel obligated to explain yourself, to justify every decision you make. But as you get older, you begin to realize there's no need to explain yourself to anyone. You live your life for you, not for someone else's approval. This doesn't mean you stop caring about others. It just means you stop trying to change who you are to fit into someone else's mold. It's about setting boundaries and knowing where to draw the line. It's about saying, I respect your opinion, but it's not going to change my path. One of the greatest freedoms you get with age is the freedom to stop caring about what others think. The energy you once spent on trying to please everyone can now be used to focus on your passions, your happiness, and your peace of mind. Life becomes a lot less stressful when you stop worrying about whether or not everyone is happy with you. So, if you find yourself trying to please someone, whether it's a friend, a colleague, or even a family member, ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth compromising my values, my happiness, or my time? The answer will usually be no. And remember, those who truly care about you will love you for who you are, not for who you pretend to be. Let go of the need to please everyone. Live for yourself and everything else will fall into place. Thing number 9. Fearing the future. As we grow older, we often realize that fear of the future starts to lose its grip on us. When we were younger, the unknowns of the future might have kept us up at night, worrying about our careers, relationships, and all the things we hadn't achieved yet. But after 70, something shifts. The things that used to cause us so much anxiety suddenly seem less important. We begin to understand that most of the things we worried about never even happened the way we expected, and that's okay. You've lived through enough to realize that life doesn't always go according to plan, and that's perfectly fine. We stop fearing what could go wrong because we've already experienced enough of the unpredictable. Whether it's health scares, financial concerns, or the fear of being alone, the future feels less like a looming threat and more like an open road. You start to focus more on today, the people around you, the simple joys, and the moments that truly matter. It's not that you stop planning for the future, but the fear is gone. You know that worrying about what's next doesn't change anything, and it only takes away from the present. Instead of stressing over potential problems, you learn to appreciate what you have now and make the most of it. Every day becomes a gift, and instead of looking ahead with dread, you look forward to the unknown with curiosity, knowing you've got the wisdom to handle whatever comes your way. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, understood this perfectly. They taught us that the only moment we can truly control is the present. And the older we get, the more we embrace this. The future is no longer something to fear. It's just another chapter in the book of life. So, if you're someone who's constantly worried about what's to come, remember, the future has a way of unfolding in ways we could never have imagined. There's no need to fear it. Embrace it, live fully in the moment, and trust that you will be able to face whatever it brings. By the time we reach 70, we know that life is too short to waste on fear, and we've earned the peace that comes with that realization. The future is what it is, and we'll handle it when it arrives. Until then, we choose to live now with joy, purpose, and a sense of calm that we didn't have when we were younger. As we wrap up today's video, it's clear that aging isn't about what we lose. It's about the wisdom we gain. Once you reach a certain age, your perspective on life shifts. Things that once seemed important, like wealth, perfection, or pleasing everyone around you, just don't make sense anymore. You realize that your time, your peace of mind, and your relationships are far more valuable than anything else. The struggles of your younger years, chasing trends, holding on to grudges, or stressing over work, become distant memories, replaced by a calmer, more focused approach to life. In your 70s and beyond, you have the freedom to let go of things that no longer serve you, and in doing so, you make room for what truly matters: happiness, inner peace, and meaningful connections. It's not about avoiding challenges or pretending everything is perfect. Instead, it's about embracing your imperfections and finding joy in the little things. You stop worrying about what others think, and instead, you live for yourself, trusting that the choices you make now are the ones that bring you the most fulfillment. So, as you move through life, remember this: aging is a journey, not a burden. The things that don't make sense anymore, those are the things you're better off leaving behind. Instead, focus on what brings you peace and contentment. After all, in the end, it's not about the years in your life, but the life in your years. Thank you for joining me today. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. What's something you've stopped caring about as you've gotten older? Leave a comment below. I can't wait to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos that help you live your best, most intentional life.